There was a lot of things I could have talked about, but we decided to focus on Destino, which was a collaboration in 1946 between Salvador Dali and Walt Disney. And two very important 20th century artists whose careers developed in parallel to one another, and who didn't meet until further along in their careers. And they were both about the same age. Walt Disney was born in 1901 and Salvador Dali was born in 1904. And Salvador Dali certainly was a great fine artist, and Walt Disney was an artist but a great storyteller and somebody who was able to build upon an animation on an art form that he helped create. And it wasn't until they had their own successes that they both met. And even though they were both highly successful in their own careers, they met and struck up a friendship and also a collaboration. And I thought that was something that was really interesting because they could have just continued to do their own thing. They could have continued to just work in their respective fields, but instead they decided to collaborate in order to further the collective fields that they were in. The original name is Destino, but it's based off of a piece of music called My Destiny of Love, which was composed by Armando Dominguez, who was a Mexican film composer. And so Walt Disney had purchased that song from Armando Domingo in the early 1940s because he liked it and he thought he would be able to do something with it. When Dali came to the studio, Dali looked at many pieces of music, but that piece of music came to him because it dealt with a topic that he was very fascinated with: destiny, the destinies of man, the destinies of ourselves. And so he decided he wanted to do an animation around that. And what I find fascinating about all of this is that you have these two great artists that come together and try to do something that furthers both their arts. And what I mean by that is that Dali admired Walt Disney because not only he elevated animation, the animation art form, but Walt Disney was a popularist. He was a very popular individual, a popular artist. And that was something that Salvador Dali wanted. Walt Disney, on the other hand, looked at Salvador Dali as a fine artist, and he wanted to elevate cartoon animation to a fine art, elevate it much higher. And so he wanted that sort of notoriety of being an artist like Dali. And that's sort of what brought those two guys together, in a sense, to work together. What I'd like to show you, though, I'm going to show the film in a moment, but I'm going to set this up by telling you that the film was not made in 1946 as planned, but it was completed in 2003. And the reason why it was completed was because of Roy Edward Disney, who is Walt Disney's nephew. He thought it was important to finish the film as a record, as a document of these two great artists coming together. You know, completing this project was really completing that collaboration between these two great artists, and it was also a way of documenting that collaboration about those two artists that came together so many years ago. And then about 10 years after we completed the film, I wound up writing a book on the whole story that spanned 60 years to get the film completed. And so that's the story. It's a fascinating story, but it's also a story that plays out all the time in the arts when great people get together and collaborate on projects. And there needs to be that documentation.